Solutions, solutions. The time for talking has come and gone. Now is the time for solutions. It's time to start coming together. Stop fighting each other. Start supporting one another. Let's build our communities one by one. Build something for the future generations. Stop waiting for others to do for us. Solutions, solutions. Stop the talking and waiting. It gets us nowhere. It's time to start acting. Start loving each other, teaching each other, working with each other. Someday, we are bound to overcome our struggles. There is hope in solutions.
Let's take affirmative action.
Good evening and welcome to another segment of Solutions presented by Mocha Productions. This evening we will be looking at two of our cultural dances, Bellaire and Quadrille, from the island of Dominica. These dances were performed in Portsmouth by the Tradibel Cultural Group of Granby during a tribute to the late Prime Minister, Honorable Roosevelt Douglas. Culture, as defined by Webster's New Collegiate Dictionary, is the integrated pattern of human behavior that includes thought, speech, action and artifacts, and depends upon man's capacity for learning and transmitting knowledge to succeeding generations. Our Creole culture is a mixture of everything, including Carib craft and botanical law, African social elements and traditions, and 18th century French patterns, and other later Western influences. Take dance for example. You will find African instruments playing European quadrilles, which have taken on their own Creole cadence over a century of synthesis. In this piece, we see the dancers and the chorus or lavway dressed in traditional jupe for mourning. This consists of a white petticoat, white blouse, and a purple jupe overskirt. Here we see the dancers introducing themselves to the drummer and then to the audience, and then they dance around very vigorously and very invitingly, showing that they can do the footwork, and then the drummer himself is following their footsteps. This is a close relationship that is developed between the drummer and the dancers. The drummer is very aware of the foot movement, and as you can see, it's a typical heel and toe footing and a lot of hip movement. Both dancers showing each other and showing the spectators that they're full of energy, full of vigor, and they're young. As the dame goes to the side, the cavalier, the male dancer, goes to the drummer, and the drummer, following his footsteps, keeps rhythm with him. There's a lot of footwork, a lot of hip movement, and as he dances, the drummer will stop and start depending on his footwork. He dances towards the spectators, and at all times, knowing that the dame is to the side looking on, he shows his prowess and his vigor to the spectators. A lot of foot movements, side by side, very, very zigzag motion, hip movements, a lot of virility showing, because his whole thing is enticing the woman to realize or recognize that he's available, he's a strong black man, and he's available for her. If this dance was performed at the Independence celebration or in a more festive atmosphere, the dancing and also the drumming and the chanteurs would be a lot more vigorous. Now we see the cavalier introduces his dame to the audience. She skirts around, showing her dress and showing her footwork and building up momentum, because she now is going to prove that she's young, she's virile, she's full of energy, and she's worthy of him. She dances towards the drummer, and the drummer, also following her footsteps, keeps rhythm with her. And as she cuts, which is when if she makes a very hard movement and stops, the drummer will stop along with her, but there's a very close relationship between the drummer and the dancer's feet. She dances, showing her thing, I'm young, here am I. She goes to the audience. Although a lot of times they dance towards the spectator, it is really for the cavalier or for the mate who is looking on, showing that, I'm young, I'm free, I'm available, this is what I can do. Here we see her showing her petticoat, which is also a very important part of the traditional dress. A lot of women wore very fancy underskirts, and in dancing, they would show their underskirt as a form of, this is my beauty, these are the clothes that I have, this is what I have under. There's a lot of heel and toe movement, very hopping, kind of a zigzag pattern to the typical ballet dance. Usually 3 steps to one side, 3 steps to the other side. Now we see the cavalier joins with her, and they're both kind of mimicking each other's footsteps. And the whole thing of this is showing compatibility. If she and him can follow the same rhythm, then there's a lot more in common between the two of them. This shows a closeness between the cavalier and the dame. Once again, we have the Tradibel cultural group from Grand Bay performing at the morning ceremony for the late Prime Minister Honorable Roosevelt Douglas. At typical independence celebrations in November, these dances are performed with a lot more fever to it. This is kind of toned down because of the setting it's being performed in. But usually, in older traditions, one would have a drink before dancing to give you, warm blood and lift your spirits. As they dance, it's more like a chicken and a rooster dance mating. Like a little mating ritual, one showing what the other can do. Now they dance towards the drummer, and they will cut, and the drummer will stop. This is probably the earliest Creole dance, which also has the strongest, virtually untouched African pattern. It has its roots in mating and fertility dance rites. There is a single instrument, the taboo drum, which is properly made of a goat skin stretched over a hollowed out tree trunk. The drum rhythm follows the steps of the single dancer, who performs in a circle of spectators, who also form the chorus or lavwe for the chanteur or lead singer. Although there are 2 partners, only one usually dances at a time, except at the end. The pattern usually is the cavalier or the man shows physical style and prowess, then the dame or the lady shows approval and tempts him. Then the cavalier seeks the dame once more, and both dance in a heated piece. In all pieces, dancing is directed towards the drum. Ballet is noted for the deep booming drum with very vigorous body movement and steps, high-pitched lavwe with short, simple wording. Various types of ballet are ballet sauté, ballet juba, ballet priorité, Bellaire rickety, Bellaire piché, and Bellaire contredanse. Its name is said to originate from the French word Bellaire, but because of its strong African pattern, it must have another earlier African name. Its present name may be based on the old French word for air, meaning threshing platform, which is the coffee glacé or the platform where coffee beans were dried.
Il travaille pour Dominicain, il travaille pour Malais, il travaille pour toutes les peuples, il allait pas qu'à vivre. Il travaille pour Jean Guambé, il travaille pour Jean Laplé, et puis Jean Cassebrou, et puis Jean.
Stay tuned, Solutions will be right back.
The United Negro College Fund exists to bring the dreams of thousands of young people within reach. Hands that yearn to touch lives. We train to heal, to teach, to bless. We encourage souls that hear music to write symphonies and sing anthems. And to those once bound by poverty, we present a wealth of possibilities. When you support the United Negro College Fund, you give more than money. You give dreams that may have died the power to live.
Support the United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Your child out here unprotected? Never. Neither would you forget his baby shots. Yet nearly a third of our babies' lives are on the line. Because even with regular doctor visits, they haven't had all their shots. Ask your doctor. Your baby needs at least 11 shots by age 2. Please don't leave him out there alone. 11 shots by 2. How sure are you?
The second performance we see is the quadrille. It is said that this dance was adapted and developed by free slaves who worked on the estates and were present whenever their masters entertained at the big estate houses. A square dance of French origin and a favorite among fashionable French society during the late 18th century and also at the court of Napoleon in the early 19th century. This dance consists of 4 couples who dance opposite and with each other. Originally, the quadrille consists of 5 separate and complete sets: Le Pantalon, L'été, La Poule, La Tronise, and La Finale. Because this took a long time to complete, especially during National Day competitions, some of the sets were shortened, quickened, or even cut from the performances. Today, the sets that are done are the sharp, slow, French, and Irish quadrilles. Some of the other quadrille performances are called lancers and mazouk. Lancers is a later quadrille which came via Britain in the 1830s and contained familiar figures from traditional English dances and Scottish and Irish reels. It was popular with the military, and the steps of the male partner had a more stiff and formal pace. Lancers was also danced to waltzes. The other type of quadrille is called mazouk, from the mazurka, which has its origins in Poland, but was very popular in France, and so came to the West Indies. The steps have great variety, but the basic pattern starts with a smooth glide on the 3rd note, shuffle step for the next few notes, another smooth glide, and a series of cross steps until one is back to the original position. A special feature is the clicking and raising of the heels at the end of each round, which is called the heel and toe polka. The mazouk was originally linked with other dances such as the polka mazouk and the waltz mazouk, or in a form of quadrille. Quadrille is a typical square dance. Here we see 4 couples dancing together. Although they are couples in their own right, you will see that they switch partners, and there's a lot of circular motion, moving around in a circle, introducing, I guess, themselves to each of the partners. Then they go back to their original partner and do what is normally called a 2-step. Then they switch sides, exchanging dancing partners as they go along. And they keep in beat with the musicians. The musicians consist of accordion player, a boom boom player, shak shak, and usually these are the 3 basic instruments that are used during a quadrille. The quadrille is said to have been danced by the more aristocrat or the upper class workers, and as tradition continued and as we got closer to the 19th and the 20th century, we saw that a lot of them changed from wearing just the jupe, which is what they're wearing right now, to the douillet, which was typically worn by the upper class or the bourgeois. Quadrille is a very dainty dance. There's not too much of a sweat breakout in it. It's a lot of foot movement, a lot of eye contact between the partners, and it's very enticing, very much of a mating dance, but not as vigorous or as obvious as in the ballet. It is a more toned down, sophisticated style of dance. Similar to the polka or even a slow waltz of the 18th and 19th century. The dancers continuously rotate around each other and switch partners. The dancers continuously switch partners and go across the floor, exchanging dancing partners. Notice now, as the accordion picks up a riffing, that the dancers start with a side-to-side shuffle. Notice the movement of the feet. Both the male and the female dancers copy each other in the feet movement, and it's a basic 1-step shuffle going from side to side across the floor. Stay tuned, Solutions will be right back.
Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the hope and the dream of the slave, and so I rise, I rise.
About fire safety.
Do you know how to escape from your home if there's a fire? You gotta have a plan. They didn't have a plan, but these people do.
Okay, in case of a fire, you and your sister are to go out this door.
Or we can always go out that way. We have 2 exits, okay?
And remember, practice makes perfect. So tell your parents, we gotta have a plan.
Be cool about fire safety. Be cool.
The United Negro College Fund exists to bring the dreams of thousands of young people within reach. Hands that yearn to touch lives. We train to heal, to teach, to bless. We encourage souls that hear music to write symphonies and sing anthems. And to those once bound by poverty, we present a wealth of possibilities. When you support the United Negro College Fund, you give more than money. You give dreams that may have died the power to live.
Support the United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Your child out here unprotected? Never. Neither would you forget his baby shots. Yet nearly a third of our babies' lives are on the line. Because even with regular doctor visits, they haven't had all their shots. Ask your doctor. Your baby needs at least 11 shots by age 2. Please don't leave him out there alone. 11 shots by 2. How sure are you?
You've just seen a small portion of the tradition of our country in dance, in dress, and in song. And we have to acknowledge the people before us who insisted that we learn our traditions and we teach the tradition to the future generations. No other than Miss Mabel Sissy Quadrille, who insisted that everyone know their culture, wear their cultural wear, and take part in local and traditional competitions every year, which are usually held at the independence celebrations in November. We also have to acknowledge the people in Dominica right now who preserve the culture, Mr. Raymond Lawrence, Miss Ophelia Olivari, and all the traditional groups throughout the island, including Tradibel, which you've just seen. They continue to portray the dance and song every year in competitions throughout the island in the November period when we celebrate independence. We also have to acknowledge no other than Mr. Lennox Honeychurch. His portrayal of the island in writing has produced 2 very wonderful books, including The Dominica Story, A History of the Island, and Our Island Culture, which is another book which gives more detail about the culture of the island. And we have to acknowledge groups like the Dada Group right here in New York, who every year in November put on events where we can wear our traditional wear and where we can feel proud to be Dominicans and to remember our island no matter how far we are from home. In Dominica, we have a committee who's in the process of preserving the history of the cultural wear, and it's spearheaded by Miss Aileen Burton. To all of them, we say thank you, and to all of us, we say pass it on to our children so that they will know and they will be proud of our culture and they will keep our traditions going. We thank you for watching, and as usual, Mocha tries to bring everything that we have to offer to people up here in the United States. We try to keep Dominica fresh in our hearts and try to keep Dominica fresh in your hearts as well.
The time for
thank you
talking
for watching
has come
and stay
and
tuned.
gone.
Stay tuned to Solutions for
Now
more
is the
about
time
the
for
island
solutions.
and the traditions
It's
of our
time to
people.
start coming
Have a good
together.
evening.
Stop fighting each other. Start supporting